Welcome back to What Arty Noobs with General Disturbance. This is a Hori 3. It's a tier 10 Japanese tank destroyer. It's located on the south spawn of Malinovka, and this one is under the command of Andromeda of No Retreat, No Surrender. Now, on the equipment, he's got a gun lane drive, vents, and a camo net.
Let's show this load, boss.
Game on. Well, although I would say normally it's imaginary tank or, fake tank, as Jingles likes to call them, the fact is that the Japanese did design quite a number of different tank destroyers that they never actually put into production. Mostly because the steel that they wanted to use to actually make these tanks was taken by the Japanese Navy, who had first dibs on anything that was metal. Because of course they had a massive great navy, and of course they were an island race, and therefore they knew the significance of actually having a good navy, which is the same thing that happened for the British Navy and the Royal Navy. And yes, the Imperial Japanese Navy actually had all the quality metal, and unfortunately the Japanese Army, who of course were the aggressors in the war because they dragged the Navy into a war they didn't really want. And yes, the Japanese Army didn't really have any good tanks at all. Well, in this game, we've seen Andromeda play the Hori 3 in this game before, I seem to recall. And the last time I think we saw him, he was actually on the North spawn. Unfortunately, he had a bit more luck than that one there, but it's early still in the game. Now we can see that he's actually using the 149mm caliber gun, which is capable of 700 alpha 305mm pen with standard ammo, and with the premium rounds it's 360. It's APCR, but he isn't carrying any of those whatsoever. And HE rounds would be 900 alpha, but they only penetrate 90mm of armor, and considering this tier 10 game with only tier 10 tanks in it, the only tanks that he can actually penetrate that easily with 90mm less armor is the Batchat 155-58 or the Manticore, and he's not likely to see those for a little while. Of course, as the Griffin has just come into the workshop and people are starting to manufacture their tanks, there's a few Griffins in this game. Imaginary British tank. Well, imaginary insofar as it never actually got produced. Again, not getting much luck. He is trying to help his teammate though. His teammate has gone forward. And he's losing hit points, but he can only do what he can do under the circumstances. The armor is fairly weak on the sides and the rear. It's only 50mm on the... Oh, that one bounced off. It's only 50mm on the sides and the rear, so you really don't want to expose yourself to close fire. But there's 300mm of armor on the front of this vehicle, so it's kind of very heavy on the front. Lopsided, you might say. Of course, being the gun being mounted at the rear of the vehicle, so to speak, well, it's actually balanced over the entire length of the vehicle, but the engine up front, the crew at the back, the breech and everything in the mechanism is at the back of the vehicle. Yep, he's not having a lot of luck at the moment with this game.
You just stay right there.
The long reload is working against him as well. That's better. That was lovely, that one. He only got 7 hit points for it. He took one of the enemy tanks out of the game, and he's waiting for the reload so he can go after this object.
I wonder how many steaks
Well,
I can make out of you.
that did a critical hit. That hit the tracks. You can see that's also where the wreck of the previous tank was as well. He's pulled back. Oh no, he pulled back. Yep. I thought you saw that. He fired around at the wreck again. A lot of enemy tanks went up the hill and they're pushing our guys down. We're actually down by 2 at the moment. Of course, one of those tanks down this end was matched by the tank on the enemy team. So yes, we're playing on the back foot. We've only got a 3 tank difference now between us and the enemy. And we appear to be the only tank remaining near the cap area on this team. Everyone else has I've deserted. We've got a Griffin up near the ramp, and our Arty is right in the corner, and he's a batch up 155-58. Actually, I said the enemy team's only got a batch at. I was actually referring to our own. What I should have been saying, it's a Conqueror gun carriage on the enemy team that's actually could be penetrated, and a Manticore, of course. They also have a UNIS 1516, which we could probably penetrate with an HE round. But if you want to maximize your damage and minimize your costs, then firing AP does work. And given the amount of penetration it does have, you could get through a lot of armor with 305mm. I'm sure there are quite a few of the enemy tanks that have penetrable spots. Well, the FP4005 for starters. The whole turret is a penetrable spot. Okay, the enemy Badger's chasing our Griffin at the moment. Trouble is, if we pull away from this position, I think it's pretty sure that the enemy is probably going to make a thrust down this flank. In fact, yeah, there he is. He is here. Oh, yes, that worked. That's a high roll for 795. And effectively, it lays down the law and says, no, you're not coming this way. And he's a one-shot now for this gun. He could be behind that. He fired snap. Wasn't fully dialed in. It was more on the off chance he might catch him as he repositioned behind the bush. Didn't work though. The standard reload is 14.67 seconds. He's got 14.03. So not a lot of improvement yet, but it is an improvement. Half a second's worth. I rather suspect if that 2685 does fire in this direction, he'll probably try and fire premium rounds. Mostly because he'll think that it's the only way he can get through the armor. We did lose that Griffin. So we're down to 5 tanks on our team. Massively down on hit points. 7,000 hit points down on the enemy. 3 tank advantage. I'd be tempted to pull back now because given that the enemy is starting to make inroads and come in from the flank, the Badger and the Conqueror, we could probably do a lot of damage to those guys. Well, it's not a, sorry, it's the can opener, not a Badger. And the can opener is an OP tank. If we reposition nearer to the cap or nearer to the lake, then we can really frustrate the enemy. Because then we can still attack the cap area if we need to. But, ooh, when he fired snap and it worked. It worked this time. He got the side of the Badger and it went right through. Okay, take up a windmill. Use that. If our guys get spots for us, we can do the business. We can see where the can opener was. Could probably even work out where that object is as well. Can opener in sight. Wonderful! Right on the turret. In fact, it went onto the bustle. And we're actually getting fire from other players on the enemy team now. They've suddenly realised. And, well, even the enemy Arty is starting to pay attention. Mind you, that was a Conqueror gun carriage. We're also using the windmill as cover. Impenetrable objects and all. Still a difference of 2 tanks. And, well, I say still because it actually was 3 at one point, but it's gone down. But we're now with 4 tanks left in the game to the enemy 6. Now, yes, there's the 2685. Now, if you can get rid of that guy. Oh, there are hash barns in sight. One of our teammates can see it. We're going to force this 2685 out. Well, he tracks us. Fix that. And bye-bye. Oh, we didn't get a kill. Ram him. Ram him. He's only got 3 hit points. You wouldn't suffer much damage from a 5. But you did lose a lot of hit points there. The ram only cost you 113, but that shot from the 2685 cost you 700 hit points.
Taking a hit to the track, haven't we?
So it would have been worthwhile actually ramming him the moment you fired and didn't kill him with the first shot.
Let's crack on.
Because you wouldn't have suffered that hit for 700. And now he's down to just 241, and he's lost all of his teammates bar the Arty and the 2685. The Arty's heading in this direction, which I think is a good move for him, because I don't think there's any enemy tanks over this side of the map. I think they're all over in front of us at this moment. The 277 and the Rhine Sorrente, they're not going to go back the opposite way. They're going to come down the hill, but they'll pick their way about how to come down the hill. If the Batchat goes across the field and heads towards the enemy cap, I think there's a chance he might meet the Conqueror gun carriage, but if he does, he might be able to take that guy out for us. Nice play by the Batchat. Object 268 version 5 has actually taken up position where the Batchat was. So if the enemy is assuming that he's the Arty's there, they're going to find that there's not an Arty, there's actually a tank destroyer instead, and that's going to cost them. Batchat looks as if he wants to cap. Well, we got to the 2-minute mark. Batchat holding short of the cap. And we've gone past the single cap point. So now he has started the cap. In fact, he could cap out. Not sure why he did that. Oh, unfortunately, he did get wiped out by the 277. So that guy did go back. And there's a chance then that if he did, he's either somewhere or north of the lake, but could see the cap area. And there's the Rhine Sorrente. And he's a one-shot. Oh!
Off you trot.
That is an excellent kill. That's his 5th kill from the game for Andromeda. Now, it's only the 277 left, and our 265 is 268 rather is now moving to hunting mode, looking for that 277. 40 seconds left on the clock. I think we can do the same now as well. Even though we've only got 241 hit points, we are a one-shot for a 277. And of course for the Andromeda. They found the 277. He killed the 277, the 268. So now it's 2 versus 1, and he wildly fired at the Conqueror. I don't think we're going to find him. This is going to end up as a draw. But it's a good draw considering we were behind from a lot of the game with virtually no chance of winning. And that's it. The game's over. And it's a draw. Here's the end of battle stats. And yes, that was a draw for Andromeda in the Ho-Re 3. But he did manage to get a fighter badge for getting at least 4 kills. In fact, he actually ended up getting 5. One short of getting a Top Gun, and 1/3 of the enemy team. It was unlucky that he didn't see the 277, because if he had seen him and bagged him, then he would have got a Top Gun out of the game, and that would have meant more credits for him. But as it's a draw, and he didn't get a medal, it's not so good. His win rate was only 1,089, which is average, I suppose you might say, or good. Let's have a look at the team score and see where he was. Where you can see mid-table on damage with 1,964 hit points. The highest score was, in fact, the 277, who got 4,899. In second place, it was the Viz55 on the enemy team with 3,977. And in third place, it's actually the Rhino Sorrente on the enemy team, 3,829. Highest damage on our team was the Object 268 version 5, who only got 3,805. And of course, he was in fourth place when it came to damage. Of course, Andromeda, way down the table, was actually beaten by, let's have a look. Well, it looks to me 7 members of the enemy team beat him. And it also looks like 7 members of his own team beat him. So he's 15th place on damage. He's right in the middle. And if we look at kills, though, he's actually top of the tree. He got 5 kills. The Object 277 only got 4 kills. And the 2685 on his own team got 3. So, yes, top scorer on that one. Middle of the field on damage. When it came to base XP, we can see top scorer was the 277 again. The Viz55 614. And the Object 279E got 613. So, yeah, he got 553, which is better than all but 3 on the enemy team and 1 on his own team, which places him 5th when it comes to base XP. The Manticore beat him for 558, so he must have got spotting. He got a Patrol GT. The Batchat 155-58 on our team got a Confederate. And the Conqueror gun carriage on the enemy team, well, he did get a fair amount of damage and 2 kills. We can see that Andromeda fired 21 rounds in that game. Yeah, he liked pressing that button. 12 direct hits on the enemy, 6 penetrations. This vehicle carries 40 rounds of ammunition, so he just about used half of it. He also got 1 splash damage on the enemy as well. 1,964 hit points of damage, of which 1,250 were more than 300 meters. So most of the shots at long range, well, as I said, it has very weak side armor, weak rear armor, good front armor though, so you want to engage the enemy at long range. 4 hits received, 2 penetrations, 2 non-penetrations, and 2 hits by way of splash damage. 980 hit points of damage blocked by armor. 5 enemy vehicles damaged, 5 destroyed, and he managed to make a loss of 24,167 credits, and that's down to the ammunition really, and the fact that he did get damaged and they didn't win. 5 bonds for this being tier 10, and 829 experience points out of that game as well. I think that the bit that I would criticize, or at least try to positively criticize, was that if he had actually gone around that corner to kill the enemy Object 268 version 5, he should have just quickly rammed into him. The moment he didn't kill him, just give him a quick nudge to make him go away. Because that second shot that the 268 version 5 fired, the 700 hit points, that could have been a game-changing amount. Because if somebody else had actually managed to get a shot into him, that probably would have been the end of his game. And it might not have ended up with a draw. It might have been a loss. But he did get a draw, and so at least it's positive in that sense. Hope you enjoyed that replay. If you did, please give this a like, and thank you for watching.